one of the greatest talents of American music, with whom Blitzstein worked twice, was Jerome Robbins. They worked briefly on a lovely musical called Golubchik about American-Soviet friendship, which lasted about as long as American-Soviet friendship. It never really got off the ground, but it was an effort to bolster the alliance between Russia and America toward the end of the war and even going into the Cold War. The American and Soviet Music Society was something that Elie Siegmeister helped organize with Aaron Copland and Serge Koussevitzky and Martin Gould, Mark Baumann, and Marc Blitzstein and Larry Bernstein. I have a photograph on my wall that Siegmeister had on his piano of an initial meeting of that organization with Copland and Siegmeister and Bernstein and Blitzstein. Siegmeister said, of course I did all the work, but they were the names, and it lasted, as I say, until it was killed by the Cold War. And I know something about that. My mother was a secretary of the American-Soviet Medical Society, which was killed by the Cold War. And she could never work as a teacher because she would have been required to sign a loyalty oath saying that she had never been a member of an organization devoted to the overthrow of the government by force and violence, which the Attorney General classified that organization and all Communist Front organizations as, so she could never do that. She became a librarian. Anyhow, Blitzstein worked briefly on Golubchik with Jerome Robbins, but the most important work that they did together was a ballet that went through several different titles. It was called Show, it was called Theater Piece, it was called Show Window. It became The Guests. And it was about two groups of people wearing masks, and it began actually as a contest, a fashion contest for three couples. And I forget what the first couple was, but the second couple was sort of a noir Nick and Nora or Hollywood satire. And the third couple was an interracial couple. They didn't know they were interracial until they removed their masks, and then that scandalized everybody. So it was a very strong social comment piece about
these two groups and a kind of a Romeo and Juliet thing between them. What does that remind you of?
West Side Story.
East Side Story, which became West Side Story, right? and there's a lot of indication that this piece preceded that. It premiered in January of '49, and with mixed reviews. And then Jerome Robbins actually took the role of the host later in the run and got much better reviews. But what happened in 1953? Jerome Robbins named names before the House Un-American Activities Committee. And Blitzstein referred to him after that as that worm. Robbins would not speak to him, not work with him. Which, as it says, is a real tragedy for American musical theater, because each of them created masterpieces, especially Robbins. And Blitzstein could have benefited, as Bernstein did, obviously, working with Robbins. Anyhow, I put together a whole suite of music from this ballet, including some things that were cut. And it's on the CD. I'm not going to play the whole suite for you. I'm just going to play the opening prelude, which at the end of the ballet becomes a pas de deux, which is really the climax of the piece. And it's about two groups approaching each other. You can hear these two groups of minor thirds approaching each other in contrary motion and making dissonances. It's really quite graphic musically and as a ballet. I'm just going to do the beginning of that. And then Helene and I are going to do the melodrama of the second couple, which was actually cut from the ballet, but I think it's the most ambitious piece, at least from the pianist's point of view, in the whole piece. It's called Hollywood and Vine, and it's this noir couple, which makes a reference to a historical figure at the end, which I only last week found out who he really was, and I'll tell you about that later. Okay, so here we are, the prelude and the melodrama from Show, or The Guests.